Milwaukee, 1991. A police officer stands in a hallway that smells like something died in the walls. He's about to open a door that will end one of the strangest investigations in American history. But this isn't a story about what he finds behind that door. This is a story about what happened before it. About a boy who was quiet, polite, and completely alone in his own head, long before anyone had a reason to be afraid of him. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1960, and by most accounts his early childhood looked ordinary. But something shifted around age 4, after a hernia surgery. Small, forgettable to most kids. Not to Jeffrey. He later said that was the moment he became aware of his own body in a strange, detached way. He was watching himself from outside. Psychologists call this depersonalization. To a small child, it might just feel like not quite being there. Add to that a home life that was tense and unstable, parents who fought constantly, a mother struggling with her mental health, a father often absent. Jeffrey wasn't neglected in any dramatic way. He was just overlooked. And a child who feels invisible has to find something to hold on to. For Jeffrey, that something was dead animals. He started collecting roadkill, fascinated by what was inside things, what made something alive, and what was left when it wasn't. A shed in the backyard became his quiet laboratory. His parents noticed the smell before they understood what it meant. By the time they asked questions, Jeffrey had already learned the most important lesson of his childhood. Keep the real you locked away. Show the world someone easier to ignore. By high school, he became the class clown, faking seizures for laughs, mimicking politicians, doing anything for a reaction. It looked like confidence. It wasn't. Underneath, he was drinking heavily. By 16, alcohol was armor. It quieted a mind already wandering somewhere darker. Fantasies about control, about someone who couldn't leave. These weren't violent fantasies yet. They were about loneliness, a desperate wish to be less alone, twisted through a mind that never learned how to actually connect with people. Instead of asking, how do I get close to someone, some broken wiring in Jeffrey's head asked, how do I make sure they never leave? Then, in 1978, right after graduation, his parents' marriage collapsed. His mother left. His father moved out. For a few weeks, Jeffrey was essentially alone in that house. And that's the night everything changed. That summer, Jeffrey picked up a hitchhiker. What began as a quiet evening in that empty house ended in the young man's death. Not from any plan by his own later account, but from something that snapped in a moment of panic when the man tried to leave. For the first time, Jeffrey had crossed a line he could never uncross, and instead of turning himself in, something colder took over. He hid it, and he waited to see what he'd feel. For years afterward, nothing happened. He joined the army, was discharged for drinking, and moved in with his grandmother in Wisconsin. To everyone around him, he was just a quiet, awkward man with a problem. Underground, something else was growing. It took nearly a decade for him to kill again. But when he did, in the mid-1980s, the panic of that first night had been replaced by a chilling kind of method. By day, he clocked in at a chocolate factory and kept to himself. By night, in his small apartment, he was constructing an entirely different reality. Psychologists later pointed to a devastating mix: deep isolation, alcohol dependency, fantasies of control rooted in that early fear of abandonment, and a curiosity about anatomy that traced all the way back to that shed in his childhood backyard. None of this excuses what he did, but it maps a pattern. A child who felt invisible, who numbed his fixation with alcohol, and once he crossed one irreversible line, kept crossing it. Over the next several years, more people vanished from Milwaukee's black and gay communities, men whose disappearances were not investigated with the urgency they deserved. That failure is its own devastating chapter, one this channel believes deserves a dedicated video. In July 1991, one man managed to escape, flagging down police while still partially restrained. What officers found at apartment 213 ended Jeffrey Dahmer's ability to hide forever. What's chilling isn't just what they discovered, it's how calm Jeffrey was when they found it, as if some exhausting performance had finally been allowed to end. During his trial, psychiatrists debated whether he was legally insane. The jury didn't think so. He was sentenced to over 900 years in prison. In interviews afterward, he spoke with eerie clarity about his own actions. driven by a compulsion he couldn't control, even as he insisted he knew it was wrong the entire time. In 1994, he was killed by a fellow inmate. The story most people know ends the